Hi, I'm Lindsay, your academic navigator, and I'm here with Lisa Carr, and we are going to have a dialogue with you about some things that you might expect to change as you transition from high school to college. So, I was a high school teacher for 12 years, so I'll be sharing the high school teacher perspective on a variety of topics, and then Lisa is going to share the college instructor perspective. So, you can learn from the experience and the transition difficulties that some of our students have experienced and that we're trying to spare you from. Okay, so I think one challenge that students run into sometimes is attendance. So, on the high school side of things, chances are your family was making sure that you arrived at school every day, and then if maybe you missed a class, chances are the school was calling your parents, calling your family, and they would have been very aware of that. But here at UNL, it looks different.
Yeah, so as a college instructor, right, your attendance is really up to you as a student. If you're taking an in-person class, I really encourage you to attend class every day so that you're not missing out on information. Your class may or may not have an attendance policy, right? Some classes require attendance, others don't. But it really is up to you to make that choice to show up for class every session. That's not to say if you're sick or something's happened that you can't miss class here or there. But that your instructor really expects you to take that responsibility on yourself to make sure that you're attending class and you're there regularly to catch the information that's needed.
Yes, and I think in our experience here at UNL, as long as people are attending class, things usually go well. If things become challenging and go in a way that we don't want them to go, typically attendance has been a consideration. So please help yourself out and make sure that you're taking care of your attendance, because that's a huge component of owning your success here at UNL.
And I think, Lindsay, that's a good point. If something happens and you're going to be missing a lot of class, oftentimes students may think, well, my instructor's not taking attendance in class and I don't need to say anything. But it really is in your best interest to be proactive, reach out and send out an email to your instructor to explain why you've been missing class or what's happening that might require you to miss class. So that way, if they can work with you to make things up, there's that opportunity.
That's great. It's always great to communicate with your instructors, communicate with your success teams, and that way we can work with you if the time comes. But generally speaking, please make it a rule to get yourself to class, even though maybe no one's checking up in the day-to-day on that. Okay, so we talked a little bit about attendance, and now I'd like to talk just a little bit about deadlines and time management. So chances are your high school teachers were giving you a lot of reminders kind of day by day about what's coming up. They might look at where they are in their instruction and they might say like, wow, we are not ready for this. We may need to extend this. Or, if you miss a deadline, if something's late, chances are they would probably take it anyway. Your school may have had policies around that where they weren't allowed to not take your late work, or they weren't allowed to have it affect your grade if they were going to take it. But here at UNL, deadlines are generally far more firm than they were in high school. So please be prepared for that.
Yeah, so most classes have a late work policy, and you want to make sure that you look through that. Some of my classes, right, I don't accept any late work from students, where others might prorate how many points you get given the amount of days that it's late. So look at that policy, make sure you're turning your work in on time. Now, again, that's not to say if something were to come up and you aren't able to get something turned in on time, the key thing there is to communicate with your instructor prior to that deadline. So again, if you've gotten sick, you've had to go home, whatever the reason might be, reach out, let your instructor know before the deadline so they have an opportunity to communicate with you about how they might feel about being flexible with that deadline. Oftentimes, right, if you wait till after the deadline's passed and then you say, oh, but I didn't get this done, they may not give you an extension, but giving them the opportunity to work with you before that deadline is really important instead of just assuming they'll take it late.
Yes, sure. It's really important. So as a general rule, please expect that you're going to turn your assignments in early or on time at the very latest. But at the same time, if things happen, be sure you're communicating. And our student success team can help you do that in the case of emergencies sometimes as well. Okay. And then that just kind of leads us into the broader challenge of time management. So on the high school side of things, there are actually state laws around how many hours per day you have to be in school. And that meant that a lot of times your teacher would be giving you in-class work time to get your assignments finished because you're there anyway from a set amount of time. But here at UNL, things look a little bit different, and it is going to be largely up to you to manage your work time outside of class.
Yeah, so a typical student is taking between 12 and 15 credit hours. And what we like to suggest is that you're spending about 2 to 3 hours outside of class for every hour in class. Well, if you work out that math, that essentially means you're spending about 40 hours a week, right? You're now a full-time student, just like you'd be at a full-time job, of doing your studying or classwork around class. And maybe not every class you have to do that in, but that's what we want you to plan ahead for. So ideally, again, in your planner, I think the best way to do this is to book into your planner study times and set those at the same times, the same days every week, just like you would have when you're going to a class. I think it's great if you have a break between classes, like a 9 a.m. class and an 11 a.m. class. Instead of going back to your room and taking a nap or something, use that time as like a great study block for one of those classes or to do your homework.
That's such a great tip. And then we really encourage students to identify a work week somewhere or a work block somewhere within their week where they say Wednesday afternoons, this is when I'm getting the bulk of my stuff done or something like that. And it will vary semester by semester, but it will be really important that you have that time. And we know you have other commitments, your jobs, your clubs, your friends. We honor the importance of all of those in your life, but please be sure that you're scheduling in time outside of class to complete your schoolwork as well. Because as Lisa mentioned, class time is very important, and it's only about 1/3 of the total time commitment that you've agreed to make as a full-time student.
And I think, Lindsay, I just thought one other thing that's really important is if you're taking an online course, right, to think about that in your time management as well. And once again, that is where I think, again, the most successful students book that into their calendar. So to pretend in your head it's a Monday, Wednesday, Friday class at a certain time so that you set aside that time to do it. It's very easy for online classes to be out of sight, out of mind. You're not physically going to class, and so you might forget about it. But if you can book that time in, students are most successful in an online class if they work at it as they go instead of trying to cram it all in right before that first exam.
Yes, no, that is very important indeed. Okay, and then another piece that we would like to chat with you about today is just kind of the rigor and challenge that will come in higher education. So I think sometimes we hear students say, but high school was just so easy, I never even really had to try. And if that's not you, don't worry. But for some people that was kind of their experience, and they're encountering academic challenge potentially for the first time here at UNL. And sometimes it's hard to know how to respond to that. So on the high school side of things, if your teacher could kind of see that you weren't getting it, they would have a lot of suggestions for you. They would kind of go out of their way to make sure you had what you needed to be successful. And here at UNL, your instructors are very much here for your success, but it's going to look a little bit different because it's your responsibility to seek out extra support when you need it, and to know that needing that extra support is okay. And we are here to help you grow, which means we have to challenge you.
Yeah, many of your professors will have office hours, and those are just times where maybe you can stop by and visit with them about any concern you have or struggles you have in the class, and those are a great time to go in and ask for extra help. Some of our classes have resource centers or tutoring. So for like chemistry, biology, math, there's services here on campus for those. And reaching out to your instructor, finding a time. I know anytime a student is going to ask me for help in my class, I always make time for them to get that in with them. But it does involve, right, you may be checking in and seeking help. Some of your instructors will reach out to you. Sometimes if you're struggling in class, you might hear from Lindsay to see how we can help you find the tools that you need to be successful. But I think the biggest thing is like always feeling comfortable asking, even if you've got an A and you want extra help, like it's always great to ask and seek out that support.
Yes, yeah, it's very important. Just know that that support is available to you, but you may have to take more of an initiating role in finding that support than perhaps you would have had to in high school. Yeah, and then we want to be sure that you're successful in your classes and experiencing academic success here. Even if it doesn't come easily, it is still here for you. You still belong, and we're here to help you find that. And it is really important that you are successful in your classes. For one thing, we know that it's an investment on a lot of levels, including financially. So we want to be sure you're successful in your classes for those reasons as well.
Yeah, and the transition here to college can be a lot, right? You've maybe moved away from home and your family's not here to support you or check in the same way as it was, but you definitely have a team of people here who are willing to make sure that you have the support and resources you need to be successful.
Yes, absolutely. And chances are, whatever you're struggling with, you're not the only one. And if you come to us, we'll be able to tell you, yes, we've seen this before and we have some ideas. So sooner is better if you do find yourself in any type of academic struggle. We do want to hear from you.